Hello, mellow fellows, it's Tara here, and today we're talking about the most fabulous and underrated Disney villain, Yzma from the classic movie The Emperor's New Groove. Yzma is a unique and comical villain, which is unlike any other Disney character written. Most villains are menacing, and for the most part pretty serious, but Yzma was very funny and lighthearted and someone we can all laugh and pretty much enjoy. Yzma only had about 10 minutes of screen time total, but her larger-than-life personality made every second count. Her character is so memorable that everybody knows at least one catchphrase of hers.
It is with great sadness that we mourn the sudden departure of our beloved prince. Taken from us so tragically on the very eve of his 18th birthday.
Poor guy.
His legacy will live on in our hearts
Never had a chance.
for all eternity. Well, we ain't getting any deader. Back to work.
Yzma was voiced by the beautiful late Eartha Kitt, who was an iconic figure in Black culture. Eartha was extraordinary and bold, just like her character. The similarities between Eartha and Yzma were uncanny, which shows that the animators really took inspiration from Eartha's real-life charm and mannerisms. If you don't know much about Eartha Kitt, I highly suggest you check out her work throughout her career. There's even a song of hers back in the day called I Wanna Be Evil, and if that doesn't scream Yzma, then I don't know what is. Now back to Yzma. In earlier renditions of Yzma's character, Yzma was a mortician, so she spent most of her life in the castle. Kuzco has mentioned her being in the castle for a very, very long time. So it makes sense that she feels entitled to power. She practically spent her whole life in the castle and dedicated a lot of her adult years to raising her foster son Kuzco, whose parents have both died. She is practically a family friend of the royal family and has worked her way up all the way to a royal advisor. And if you think about it, after dedicating your life to the empire, it makes sense that she'd be furious when Kuzco fires her. And it makes sense that she wants to take revenge on someone that she used to care about. Or at least pretended to care about. Who knows with Yzma. Yzma was not a great person, or was she a great ruler, but neither was Kuzco, so the empire was screwed either way. They either had Yzma, who was a tyrant, or Kuzco, who was actually a tyrant in the making. After all, when you consider that Kuzco was raised by a villain, it's not surprising that Kuzco was an asshole. If he would have never met Pacha, he would have turned out exactly like Yzma. Everything from her cruel rulings to her narcissistic personality, it all basically reflected in Kuzco.
No! You threw off my groove!
I'm sorry, but you've thrown off the Emperor's groove.
Hate your hair. Not likely. Yikes, 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 and let me guess, you have a great personality. Is this really the best you could do?
So in a way, Yzma created her worst enemy. The only person who could take her down is another Yzma, which is Kuzco. A version of her that's more arrogant and a version of her that actually has power. Yzma is a dark parallel to Kuzco. They are both selfish, arrogant, and greedy tyrants, but then again, he learned all of that from her and beat her at her own game by firing her.
Boom, bam, baby! Let's get to the grub. I am one hungry king of the world. So, no hard feelings about being let go.
None whatsoever.
Yzma raised someone who was capable of firing their own foster mother. Loyalty and love aren't something that she instilled in him, so it's no wonder that he was able to fire her so easily, even if she was the only parental figure in his life. However, the main difference between the two is that Kuzco learned from his mistakes and changed before he was consumed by greed and power like Yzma is. And that is all due to his first real parental figure, Pacha, someone who was able to teach him right or wrong, and someone who was able to teach him what it means to be a good person. Unlike Yzma, who probably didn't spend as much time with him as she could have, or really treated him like a true son. Kuzco's Change of Heart shows that problematic children still have the capacity to change if put in the time and love and care. Yzma never learned her lesson, and she will continue to be evil throughout the whole franchise. And also, side note, little fun fact, Yzma turning into a cat is a possible tribute to Eartha Kitt's Catwoman and Eartha Kitt's trademark purr. If you haven't heard it, oh boy, are you in for a treat.
They're good men, Joker. Perfect aides de camp for our evil crime spree, don't you think?
Oh, perfect Catwoman.
Switching gears here, we're going to talk about Yzma's fashion and her as a character. Yzma is one of the most fabulous elder ladies in the Disney villain franchise. And to me, she is the most fabulous lady that ever graced the Disney screens. Which makes sense when you consider that Cruella de Vil's style was a source of inspiration. She was also based off a very famous Peruvian singer. And of course, as we mentioned earlier, she was also inspired by Eartha Kitt. Basically, Yzma is a mix of three beautiful, larger-than-life characters who made this diabolically great villain. Yzma's signature colors were black and purple. The purple is said to represent madness, and her being a literal mad scientist, it works pretty well with her character. You cannot deny that this woman knew how to dress to impress and put on a show. You can tell Yzma passed down her showmanship to her foster son Kuzco, which in my opinion is one of Kuzco's best traits. So I would say that this kind of runs in the non-biological family. Yzma took over the kingdom in style, and to be honest, I like the black and purple aesthetic. Again, the purple alluding to her insane lust for power. Yzma has always had stunning outfits, and has had many more outfit changes than the average Disney villain. To me, she honestly had one of the best wardrobes in Disney history. Like, come on. I would rock any of those outfits any day of the week. They all have a very nice vintage glam to them. Very old Hollywood, as I would say. To me, her confidence and grace is one of her best features. Her dramatic flair and brilliant mind makes one hell of an entertaining antagonist. Throughout the franchise, she is constantly being criticized for her more ancient look. But no matter what anybody says, she truly believes in herself and truly believes that she is beautiful. Basically, no one could tell her shit. Miss Yzma would gladly work some heels and wrinkles at the same damn time, and I live for her. Honestly, I truly wish I would be that confident when I'm her age. Heck, even a piece of that confidence will help me right the hell now. People can make fun of her bald ass all day long, but she will continue to slay like a temporary royalty she was. What an icon. Like really, what a freaking icon. I mean, who else could sport a purple cattail and still look good? Only Empress Yzma. Yzma was originally made for the canceled Disney film Kingdom of the Sun. Her character was drastically different in this version than when she was recycled into the Emperor's New Groove. In the Kingdom of the Sun movie, she was more serious, evil, and her main goal was to chase beauty and youth. She literally wanted to get rid of the sun so she would be more beautiful, which doesn't make sense in my mind, but you know how Disney is, anything could fucking happen. And to be honest, what else is new? Why is it that the go-to motivation for old women is always beauty and youth? I mean, let's talk about this for a minute. Male villains always get the courtesy of chasing immortality without the attached notion that he wants to be young and handsome. When is the last time you seen a Disney villain who was a woman chase immortality without it being correlated to her wanting to be beautiful and young? I'll wait. Probably could think of maybe one or two examples at the most. Mother Gothel wanted to stay young. The evil queen chased her stepdaughter because she was too pretty and she wanted a crown, but come on, she said who's the fairest in them all. We all know why. And the other Disney female villains, they weren't chasing immortality, they just wanted to rule a kingdom in some sort of way. Well, Yzma falls under that category, but to me it is always kind of sus that beauty and youth is way more prominent in female villains than male villains. However, in real life, both men and women strive to be younger and more attractive. For some reason, male body image and male beauty standards is a drastically underexplored topic. Male vanity does exist, and it's annoying to me that Hollywood only applies that young motivation to female villains. I mean, the only male villain I can think of who had any sort of thing about his looks was Gaston, but to be perfectly honest, that wasn't a motivation. His motivation was just to get Belle. He never doubted his appearance, he loved his appearance. Men are never under the same scrutiny as women when it comes to looks. Men are allowed to look old and have wrinkles in our society. Gray hair for men is a sign of distinguishment, but gray hair for women is the end of their youth. It's their demise, and it's the end of their career in some cases, especially in modeling industry. Though, in my opinion, we should make more of an effort to stop shaming women for chasing youth, especially since society tells her she's only beautiful if she's under 40. If that. And we should also open a safer space in society to help men talk about their own body issues and aging issues as well. After all, when you have Superman, Aquaman, and tall male models, it's easy for men to feel inferior to them if they don't look like them. Or it's easy to get caught up in the gym because you want to look cut. And if you're doing it for you, that's no problem. It's just when you do it to look a certain way to fit society, then that seems to have a more deeper issue than just how you want to feel. I'm just saying, the term short king couldn't exist if there weren't a standard for men to be tall. Chef Ramsay wouldn't have gotten rid of his wrinkles if it didn't matter to him. Toupees wouldn't be a thing if men aren't concerned about balding. And gym rats wouldn't be a thing if men didn't care about their bodies. But they do. And there's nothing wrong with that. Youth culture isn't a female problem. It's a human problem. It's normal. And I'm glad that earlier version of Yzma got scrapped. Regardless, do what makes you happy and change whatever you think needs to be changed for you to be the best version of yourself. Just, don't enslave people to do it, like Mother Gothel. And remember, everyone chases youth at some point, not just women. And honestly, no one should be shamed for it, especially in a society where younger people are more valued. I said all that because I'm glad that Yzma doesn't represent that harmful message. I don't want people to associate getting old with it being inherently bad. I love that Yzma is full of herself and embraces herself as she is. I love that she chases power instead of beauty. And I love that vanity wasn't her whole character, and instead they placed more value on her goals and ambition than how she looked. Yzma had her own beauty standards and is more focused on taking over the empire than she is trying to prevent aging. Truthfully, the old woman chasing youth kind of trope is overdone and played out. And me personally, I would much rather watch Yzma scam old people into buying addictive snake oil by telling them it's youth potion than watching her try to make a real one herself. I also appreciate how they show Kuzco's vanity as well. You hardly see male protagonists stress about their looks, and you can clearly tell that Kuzco is upset that he is, a llama.
Llama face!
What happened?
I'm trying to figure that out, okay?
And I guess that's another thing he gets from Yzma. They both think incredibly high of themselves, and honestly it's pretty hilarious on both ends. And just to be absolutely clear, I know that Yzma is vain. I know that she cares about her looks, but to me there is a clear difference from being hilariously self-absorbed and full of yourself and having your whole entire character and motivations be strictly about your beauty. There is a difference to me, the character trait of being self-absorbed and your whole identity being about your looks, having no personality. And to me, Yzma is on the right side of that equation. Her style and confidence aren't the only thing that's great about her character. Another fun thing about her is that she's a mad scientist. And not just any mad scientist, she is a female mad scientist, which is rare within itself. That's right, she has good style and she's pretty intelligent. You don't have to choose between fashion and brains, people. You can be both. You don't have to be Velma or Daphne. You can honestly be both. Basically what I'm saying is be one and the same. Yzma's scientific knowledge, intelligence, and alchemy skills, and her very skillful manipulation tactics makes her a dangerous threat to Kuzco.
How shall I do it? Oh, I know. I'll turn him into a flea. A harmless little flea. And then I'll put that flea in a box. And then I'll put that box inside of another box. And then I'll nail that box to myself. And when it arrives, I'll smash it with a hammer. It's brilliant, 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 I tell you. Genius, I say.
But of course, one of the fallbacks of her intelligence is her habit to overcomplicate simple plans, as I just stated. Either way, it's funny as hell regardless and makes an amazing comedy theme with Yzma. This even continued for the series Kuzco Academy, where every episode she would make an overly complicated plan and ask Krunk to pull the infamous lever. Also, this whole movie happens because she decided to save on postage. Honestly, maybe she should have stuck with the flea thing. Also, not to mention her super cool lab, and she has the best henchman known to men. Krunk.
Oh, right. The poison for Kuzco. The poison chosen specially to kill Kuzco. Kuzco's poison. That poison?
Yes, that poison.
Got you covered.
Yzma was a simple villain with a realistic motivation. She was the Emperor's advisor who got fired for running the empire behind Kuzco's back. So, in natural retaliation, she tried to murder her foster son and take the kingdom by force. She got away with it for a little bit, but eventually she was dethroned and turned, well, into a cat.
Looking for this. Is that my voice? Is that my voice? Oh well.
No, don't drop it!
I'm not going to drop it, you fool. I'm going to drink it. And once I turn back into my beautiful self, I'm going to kill you.
She then of course turned back human and eventually ran school as a principal. But I guess by the end of that series, she was demoted to Krunk's assistant. Because, well, karma's a bitch. She is of course less homicidal in the TV show, but I honestly just pretend that TV show is in an alternate timeline altogether. I like the show, don't get me wrong, but it's a completely different vibe than the movie. Yzma also made history. She is one of the few female villains to be physically fought and one of the last female villains to go up against a male protagonist. Like I said, total bad ass material. Yzma is fearless, diabolical, malicious, eccentric, hilarious, and the most unnecessary planner I have ever seen. Her showmanship, entertainment factor, and intelligence makes her stand out among the greats of Disney villains. And to be honest, Yzma deserves more credit and recognition for reinventing the typical female villain in Disney. Yzma is different, bold, and full of life, no matter her age. And of course, she is one of my favorite female antagonists in a Disney franchise.
I win.
Whoa, what are the odds that trapdoor leading me out here?
She definitely deserves to be more praised. And she deserves to be in a Disney villain lineup in my opinion. Yzma is severely underrated, and I don't think she really gets her props, especially for the comedy queen that she is. And honestly, neither is Kuzco, and neither is Krunk, and neither is Pacha. I feel like the whole movie is pretty underrated for such a freaking masterpiece. Her famous catchphrases and influence will forever live in all Disney fans' hearts. Here's to my favorite diabolically brilliant empress who passes all of my nostalgia checks. Thank you all for watching, and remember to stay trippy, my hippies. Bye!